Hey, how's it going, guys? Welcome back to the Python tutorial for beginners. My name is Anshuman Biswal and I'll be your instructor for this video. Since this is your first video in this playlist, we'll be learning very basic Python concepts and then we'll work our way up. And so in this whole course we will be covering all the basic concepts and then we'll move on to the advanced concepts as well. So since this is your first video, welcome to this playlist. And in this video we'll be learning the most essential component of any programming language, which are the variables. So we'll be learning about what are Python variables, and then also we'll be seeing what are the primitive data types available in Python in this video. And at the end of this video I'll be showing you some VS Code tricks, or I would say some extensions you can install to your VS Code if you are on VS Code. I prefer VS Code because, come on, it's the best IDE which you can use for Python or any other programming language. But for if you're doing VS Code, then well and good. You can watch this video till the end and add few extensions to your VS Code, and then we can start off. Okay, so when we are working in any programming environment or any programming language, we have to store some values, right? To do any complex calculation or any operation, we have to store some values. So these values are stored in something known as variables. So the basic definition of these Python variables or any other variable is nothing but a reserved memory location where we store values to compute some things. Like if you want to store values like 2 in one variable and then store another value 2 in another variable, like let's say x is equal to 2 and then I store y equals to 2. Now these two x and y are nothing but the variables. Now these variables are storing some values. Those are stored in the reserved memory locations. Now if I have to do some calculation or computation like z is equal to x plus y, and then if I have to print this value, like let's print z, so it will show me the output 4, which is 2 plus 2, 4. So this is how you store the value, or you store some value in the reserved memory location. Great. So let's start off with the primitive data types. There are 3 primitive data types in Python. First one is the numbers, then we have the strings, and then we have the Boolean values. Numbers are again classified as the integer. So if you have the integer, then it's 1, 2, 3, all the whole numbers. These are your integers. Then also we have the floating points, which are nothing but the decimal values. It can be 89.89 or 7.98, something like that. These are your floating values. Coming to strings, anything which is in the double quotes is classified as string in Python. So you can hold the characters here. So strings are nothing but sequence of characters. So as you can see, my name is a string. Then coming to the Boolean, bool is nothing but true or false. So these are very useful in programming when you are doing some kind of computation. Again, if you are doing some kind of computation which is related to the conditions, like if you are the admin, then you have some specific access. If you are just like a regular user, then you have some specific access. So true, false, just like that you can use that. Or if your age is 18, then if that statement is true, then you can vote, and if your age is less than 18, maybe 16, then it's false, then you cannot vote. Some examples like that. So there you can use the bool to program. Great. So let me show you how these work, and we'll see by taking this example. So let me say num1 equals 10, and if I print this value, if you say num1, it'll show me the output as 10. So that is the variable num1, which is storing the value 10, and when you print num1 it will give you 10. So that is how you store the integer value. Let's say you're gonna store 10.23, so that is the floating point value, and again when you print it, it will become like this, 10.23. Okay, so now you can also store string values. So let's say you're storing some name, so it will again print it here. You can store anything like str1, that will also get printed here. So that is the string value which you're storing here, and again printing that string value. Okay, now let's say we have something as num1 equals to true, and then when I print this num1, you're gonna see true here. Now Python is also case sensitive, so you cannot like type true in all lower cases like this, because it will not be accepted. As you can see, it will show you the traceback error. And you cannot also go all caps like this. It has to be T capital and RUE true, so like that. And again, if you can use false like this, the F has to be capital. So this is a convention which is followed in Python. Also maintaining clean code and having a readable code also matters. You cannot give the values like str and then all caps like this and then define some variable. This is not the correct way. I mean, you can do that here, but it is not the correct way. It makes sure you always write clean code and readable code. So the convention we follow is all small. Like if you are giving some names, so let's say first name, so it has to be small, then underscore name, and then you can define some value like this if it is a string, let's say. Or if you're using some value like number, so let's say number underscore 1, and then you can give some number like this. Great. So it is very important to maintain these things. Also, it is good if you maintain gap between the variable, then equals, and then another space, and then you give the value to the variable. I know people write like this also. Yeah, so in long codes, when you have a lot of lines, it makes it very hard to read. So it's better to follow the convention of giving some space and then assigning the values. Also, when you're using the values of the variables, like when you're assigning the variables, make sure you give all small, not like capital in the beginning. Don't use the camel case or the Pascal case. That's, I think, done in Java, but for Python it's better if you use like this. Okay, so basically my point was you have to follow these conventions, write readable code, write clean code, and also focus on the formatting. And again, if you are giving some values like, let's say, is published, so as you can see, is the reserved word, so you cannot use like is as the variable like this. So better to give the underscore and let's say published like this, and you can state this value to true, and then when you print this value, let's say is published, and you can get the value as true here. So it's better to go with all small, and again use underscores and give some gap between these two, and then assign some values to your variable. So that is a good way of formatting these. The thing is, when you write a huge number of lines of code, it becomes very hard to read what you're doing. So it has to be like a magazine. Like someone opens your code, it has to be well formatted, it has to be readable, it has to be clean. So it's better if you follow all these conventions. That's a tip from my side. And let's move on to the next part of the video. As you can see, as I was typing the values, I was getting the live outputs here. So as you can see in the right side of my window, I'm running a REPL, or known as REPL. So this is nothing but like an VS Code extension. So what you have to do, if you are on VS Code, you just have to go to markets or extensions right here, and then you just have to type a REPL, AREPL, and you can see here the extension, which is real-time Python Scratchpad, or the output window. So you can just go to the REPL and since I have already installed it, you can get the install option here, and you can just download REPL for Python. And this way, since you are beginning in Python programming, you can just code on the left window and just view your output on the right window as you type it. So that is one good extension for Python, I would say. And then also for these what do you say is formatting, you can go for the Python formatting as you type Python here, and you can go to the Python indent. So this is another great extension, I would say. You can download this extension if you want to properly format your codes. You can go to Python indent, as well as for the indentation we use this. And again, there's this very popular Python extension pack. You can download this directly. And also if you want to have the autocomplete feature, which I use, before typing it will predict the text what you're gonna type, it is better to download the Kite autocomplete, which is AI code for Python. and once you run the kite autocomplete, you can just type few words and then it just auto completes it for you. So that way you can save some time. So that is one good extension I would suggest. Okay, so once your REPL is installed, it will show you something like this. You can just ignore this, and what you can do is you can just make two windows like this and keep your Python file on the left side, and you keep your REPL. Make sure this cat icon is enabled, and then you can start typing. Like if I start typing here, I can see the live output coming there. So like this, and I can see the live output coming right here. Or what happens is, if you are not following the REPL, you just have to run by using F5, and then you can see this long text file getting generated, and then you get the output here. So this is kind of boring. Why not to get the live output on the right side of the window? So that is one thing you can follow by using REPL. Alright, so that is all for this video now, and I'll catch you in the next one.